Alberta is again facing an intense political and legal standoff against Canada's federal government, with Premier Danielle Smith leading the opposition to amendments to the Impact Assessment Act. These amendments, which were supposedly intended to conform to the Supreme Court of Canada's 2023 ruling of unconstitutionality, are perceived by Smith and his supporters as a veiled strategy to increase federal control over key areas of provincial jurisdiction. The Premier has accused Justin Trudeau's government of using sophisticated linguistic tactics to disguise its intention to exert influence in crucial economic sectors for Alberta, such as energy and the environment. The province, rich in natural resources and known for its robust energy industry, is resisting what it perceives as a federal attempt to erode its autonomy in favor of centralized policies that do not reflect its interests or particularities. The conflict highlights historical tensions in Canadian federalism, especially when it comes to natural resource management and environmental assessment. Smith has reaffirmed that Alberta will not accept policies that she says stifle private investment by imposing lengthy and complex approval processes that discourage investors. The threat of capital loss and the growing perception of Canada as a risky investment location add urgency to this fight. The economic impact is one of the main axes of the debate. Alberta argues that federal interference creates uncertainty for investors and compromises economic productivity, a problem that already affects the entire country. With the second lowest per capita productivity in the G7, Canada faces a significant economic challenge, with Alberta pointing to federal policies as an aggravating factor. Meanwhile, the federal government defends the amendments as necessary to ensure uniform and sustainable environmental standards across the country. His defenders accuse Smith of taking a confrontational approach that hinders constructive dialogue and reinforces unnecessary divisions between the provinces and Ottawa. However, these criticisms have not mitigated domestic support in Alberta for Smith's position, with the province mobilizing politically in defense of its sovereignty. The situation has generated passionate debate not only in Canada, but also in other countries with federal systems that face similar challenges about the balance between centralized control and regional autonomy. Alberta, with its strong stance, has become an international example of resistance to what it perceives as excessive government interference. Backed by legislative initiatives such as the Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada Act, Smith has stepped up the fight, promising continued legal action and defending Alberta's right to manage its resources and policies on its own terms. This legal showdown, described by experts as a critical test for Canadian federalism, has implications beyond the courts, questioning the limits of federal authority and the future of the relationship between Ottawa and the provinces. The conflict not only addresses issues of jurisdiction and autonomy, but also broader concerns about sustainable development, foreign investment, and Canada's place in the global economy. As Alberta leads this battle, the implications of this confrontation ripple across the country, impacting political, economic, and environmental discourse nationally. At the heart of this dispute lies in the perception that Ottawa seeks to expand its influence over strategic projects by controlling environmental assessment processes. For Alberta, this means direct intrusion into areas that the Constitution assigns exclusively to the provinces, such as natural resource development. Premier Smith has stressed that the federal amendments, although drafted with technical and carefully designed language, perpetuate the same problem that led the Supreme Court to invalidate parts of the Impact Assessment Act. In a strategic move, Alberta has brought a landmark case before the province's Court of Appeal, challenging the constitutional validity of the amendments. Smith has pointed out that it is not only a legal conflict, but also the defense of Alberta's fundamental rights as a province within the Canadian Federation. This legal battle has reignited historical tensions around the balance of power in Canada, making Alberta a symbol of resistance for other provinces that also criticize what they perceive as excessive centralization. The economic implications are also significant. Alberta's energy industry, vital to the provincial and national economy, faces what its leaders see as growing bureaucratization that threatens to divert investment to other regions or countries. Local entrepreneurs and experts have warned that the lengthy approval processes not only increase costs, but also discourage developers from committing to projects in Canada. On the other hand, critical voices within the federal government and certain sectors of the country argue that these measures are essential to guarantee sustainable and equitable development. According to them, Alberta's resilience reflects a lack of vision in the face of global challenges such as climate change and the energy transition. However, Smith has counter-argued that Alberta has proven capable of managing its resources responsibly, pointing to the positive environmental track record of key industries operating near sensitive natural environments. The debate has transcended the political realm, involving academics, economists, and environmental experts who disagree about the long-term consequences of this confrontation. Some argue that the conflict could set an important legal precedent, reaffirming provincial autonomy from federal policies. Others fear that the lack of consensus could hurt Canada's ability to address domestic and international challenges in a unified manner. The polarization generated by this case has also fostered a climate of mistrust between Ottawa and several provinces, fueling debates about the need to recalibrate intergovernmental relations in Canada. Alberta, by taking a leading role in this dispute, has opened the door for other provinces to question the extent of federal authority in their territories, suggesting a potential domino effect on the national political landscape. The international context adds another layer of complexity to the conflict. Countries with similar federal structures are closely watching how Canada handles this challenge. The tensions between regional autonomy and centralized control are not unique to Canada, and the lessons from this case could influence policy decisions in other nations facing similar disputes. As the judicial process moves forward, Alberta's focus is not only on the courts, but also on mobilizing its population and building political support. Smith has made multiple public statements emphasizing the importance of protecting Alberta's rights, appealing to both history and provincial pride to unite citizens around his cause. At the same time, at the legislative level, Alberta has intensified its efforts to strengthen its autonomy through legal initiatives that seek to limit Ottawa's influence in key areas. These actions, while applauded by many within the province, have drawn criticism in other parts of the country, where there are fears that they could further fragment national cohesion. The narrative of this dispute is also marked by emotive and strategic speeches, designed to capture the public's attention and shape national opinion. Smith has positioned this fight not only as a provincial issue,